I'm Bob Harris for Durman Engineered Products. Several years ago, Durman produced a series of videos that were how-to videos on the complete Durman system. One of those videos was the Lumiere decorative epoxy system, which got an overwhelming response. A lot of people wanted to see more of that system, and so we just now produced a series of videos that's going to demonstrate the Lumiere decorative epoxy coating system. Basically, we've categorized it into 5 different series. Each series will include 3 color options. Please understand, this is not a how-to video, it's more of an inspirational video to help you come up with some color inspiration and witness some of the unbelievable color effects that you can do with the Lumiere system. So each of those will also, the video series will also spell out where these applications could be used. For example, a restaurant, a high-end bar, tenant improvement, retail outlet, museums, tattoo shops. So enjoy the videos and have fun with the Lumiere decorative epoxy system. For video series number 2, we're going to be demonstrating 3 color combinations that really work well in museums, for example, tenant improvement, or retail office space. We're going to start with using Tuscan Sun as a base color, which is almost the equivalent of kind of a bronze color. And oftentimes, you wouldn't think that certain color combinations work well together, and through experimentation, we're going to be using a secondary color of antique silver. So once again, for speed and efficiency, you would mix up larger volumes, dump it on the floor. A magic trowel seems to be our tool of choice. You can attach this to a handle and dispense the material quickly, as you can see here. I've mentioned in earlier videos that I'm not pushing real hard, so it's just about the weight of the tool itself is about how much pressure I'm applying. And then we'll come back in and we'll do our accenting colors with the antique silver. Now, in an earlier video, we demonstrated pouring ribbons of the 2 colors. So that's the fun thing about metallics. There's no rule to how you apply it. It's all about the effects that you're trying to create. So we could literally come in on this side and blend in our antique silver, put a little bit here and there. I don't care about the Tuscan Sun color. That's going to actually help blend. And as you can see, they're very nice color combinations that work well together. Oftentimes too, if I'm trying to create additional texture, what I'll sometimes do is walk back out. Once I've blended my base colors, like you see here, I'll walk back out and literally just splatter in 1 or 2 of the same colors to create interesting effects. If you've not worked with metallics, you need to remember that this will go through a transformation. So it takes probably an hour or more to level and settle out to give you kind of the final appearance of what you can expect. So that's an example of how quick and easy. That's the nice thing. You could literally come back in here, a little bit too much of the Tuscan Sun color. So you can come back in. That quick and easy, simply blend in a little bit more color. All right, we're going to call that good. Now, that would in itself be a beautiful floor, is an option. This is where you can come in, splatter in some colors to create texture. You could literally let that settle by itself. Whole purpose for these video series is to give you interesting ideas and color combinations to help you sell the concept in your marketplace. So we could let that sit and level out. You can see splotted in, or this is where you could just lightly touch certain areas. kind of connect them, if you will. And although this looks like it's difficult in terms of working on a sample board, it's actually quite fast to work standing up with a magic trowel. So it's just that simple and fast. Our next color combination for video series number 2, which again is for museums, tenant improvement, and retail space, is going to consist of using mahogany, antique silver, and then we're going to accent out of a squirt bottle teal to create veins. Now again, I realize we're working on small sample boards, and although it looks like it's very labor intensive and time consuming, it's really not. You're literally mixing larger volumes and dumping them in your isolated areas. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to create kind of islands, if you will, of independent colors. Where in previous videos we showed blending techniques where we're kind of troweling and using the magic trowel to create blends of various colors. We want to preserve independent islands of color. So we'll start just by pouring kind of big areas of mahogany, for example. And it's really a quick process when you do this. Now, if you choose to, once again, if you're standing up on with a magic trowel, or this is really a great tool. I use these margin trowels a lot on metallic floors to create these effects. So I'm just kind of blending it out real quick, almost as if to create kind of a veined appearance. Connect this if we choose to. So the goal is to get it down fairly quick, okay? Don't overthink it. A lot of people, they get caught up in trying to overthink some of these applications. Sometimes simple mistakes can kind of create the most interesting effects when using metallic epoxies. So I'm not overly concerned if a little bit of the gray spots in or dribbles into the mahogany. That's okay. So now what we'll do is simply come in. I don't care about the previous mahogany on there. So this technique is where we're trying to preserve our independent colors. And then as one last option, and again, that is only an option, we'll show you how to use a squirt bottle to create veining with a completely contrasting colors. Now, a lot of people would be scared or intimidated to use such a bold or intense color, but the beautiful thing about the metallics is the fact that they're so organic looking that oftentimes when you blend a very vivid or a loud color, you get some really cool, interesting effects. And you'll find with different artists, you kind of start to, sounds funny, but you start to create as you go. You start to, as the metallics settle out and start to run and blend, you'll start to see certain effects. Oftentimes I'll take a little bit of the gray. Maybe I want just a little accent of gray coming right through in an area like that. So I'm going to use a little bit more in here. A little bit more in here. There. And there. It is important that you really kind of closely monitor the entire space that you're working so you in fact cover everything. When you're doing blending techniques like this, it's really easy to leave a spot like right there that didn't get a coat of the metallic. So really closely kind of monitor the entire space that you're working, making sure to cover everything. So you can see how nice that looks simply by trying to kind of preserve independent colors as opposed to blending them all together. Now that's not to say once I get everything kind of where I want it, I might come back and blend a little bit to create effects. But this is a fast, easy technique, especially when standing up using a squeegee or a magic trowel. Okay, so again, that could be left like this. At this point, now that you have the base down, you can come in and really start to create. If you wanted to pull a little bit of this copper out here to create an interesting effect, there's really no rhyme or reason if you have the time. It will reach a stage where you're starting to compromise the material from healing back or leveling back together. Now this is where if you choose to, you could come in and create a very bold kind of contrasting color. If you choose to. Very quick, very fast. And then normally if I do that kind of a technique, I'll just lightly come in here and just very subtly blend. Not mandatory, because everything is leveling in so beautifully right now that you could literally just kind of leave it. Here I'm going to blend them together to get rid of this little bit of an area. Okay. So like I said, a lot of people would not even think to use a really bold kind of a teal like we're doing here, but there's no other material really in the world, perhaps other than artist acrylics, that you can create these unbelievable effects. Oftentimes I'll come back in and I may just put a little bit here right on my trowel to create an extra vein and just let it roll right off that. See how I'm turning as I go? Keep in mind too, the effect that you're trying to create is really kind of contingent on the given area or the workspace that you're working. So this size vein would work good on a small to medium sized installation. But if you were doing 5,000 square feet, you might want to make your veining or your complementary colors or contrasting colors, as to say, wider. So it's really kind of a function of how big or how small the workspace is. Okay. Our third and final color variation for video series number 2 consists of chestnut, sunrise, and copper. So what we're going to do in this installation is put down the chestnut as our predominant base color. Again, there's so many different ways, as we've discussed, that you can apply this. You can simply just dump ribbons all over and then blend them together either with a notched squeegee or the texture roller that we demonstrated on an earlier video, or we can just pour ribbons. So for example, if you want to kind of create an independent pattern that runs linear, you can just pour ribbons like you see here, and then simply blend in your contrasting colors into that. So in other words, we would use sunrise now, which is very similar in color, but yet these two together really produce very interesting effects. And then our last color combination would simply be a little bit, only as an accent, of the copper. So if you're doing this type of an application on a large project, of course what you would want to do is you'd be standing up. You could just walk directionally in one direction across that way, trying to keep it all going that way to create a little bit more uniform veins than we've demonstrated in the past. So for small sample panels like this, I could literally just blend this way. Keeping them going all in the same direction. Very nice color combinations together. Very organic looking. Large application, you can either go out in the spike shoes and simply bend over and hand trowel, or like I have mentioned, the magic trowel works. You would get the exact same effect that you see here, running this directionally using a magic trowel. If you needed something smaller, if you like the smaller veins, because a magic trowel you can get it narrower, or even consider the use of a small window squeegee, which is going to be 6 inches, which would be about this. So you can use a variety of different tools to create all of the interesting and different techniques like this effect. Really a gorgeous color combination here. All right, simple, fast, but yet elegant. Now that you've completed your Lumiere Designer epoxy coating system, it's time to put a top coat or a clear coat over the top to preserve this canvas. Keep in mind the Lumiere by itself is 100% solids epoxy, which really is not scuff or abrasion resistant. So for that reason, we want to use one of the 4 Duraman coating systems over the top of that to preserve it. If you're within a 24-hour time frame, in other words, when you've applied the Lumiere, you can come back within 24 hours, and assuming you don't have any outgassing bubbles or imperfections, you could clear coat right over the top without abrading the surface. However, if you exceed that 24-hour window of opportunity, you're going to need to scuff it up or sand it. Basically, you want to degloss it and level out any blisters or bubbles or outgassing voids that you may have. Generally, a 100 screen on the bottom of a floor machine. For more information on that, you can visit the Duraman website and watch the previous videos that we shot on how to prepare the surface for your coating application. The 4 systems that we're going to be demonstrating for these video series is the Purdue P98, which is a high solids, 98% solids polyaspartic. You can also get their version of this in a 72% solids, which is a little bit lower. What's the difference? The difference is the higher solids is going to stand up to scuffing and scratching in high traffic areas. So other consideration is the project budget, for example. You know, if you have a little bit of a lower budget, the lower solids, the P72 is going to be a little bit more cost effective than the higher solids. We're going to also be demonstrating the Purdue U90, which is a moisture cured high solids polyurethane system. Now, the fact that it is moisture cured, you want to let the Lumiere cure a minimum of 18 hours. Don't apply this product prior to that 18-hour window. The fact that it is moisture cured, if there's any moisture that's trying to come out of that system, it could actually, flash set this off. So 18 hours minimum. Really a great product, high gloss, very, very good scuff and scratch and abrasion resistance. This product is used in aggressive environments like airport or airplane hangars, for example, malls, that thing, where they want optimum performance. Also, we're going to get into the water-based system that Duraman offers. First of which is U46, which is a water-based glossed polyurethane. Now, they also have a version in matte, which is referred to as the U45. So you can get both systems water-based, virtually no odor. Really great too if odor is a concern. Perhaps you're working in an enclosed area, maybe it's a home, a residential home, and you can't have an odor. Great systems to consider, which is the U46 and the U45.